Hey everyone, it's Sarah Martin, and welcome back to our Live It Out online Bible study. We're living out the kingship of Christ, and today is a first session of three, actually, in which we're going to talk about living out a bold faith. So when we're truly living out the kingship of Christ, we are called to live out a bold faith, and so we're going to discuss that within the next three sessions. So let's go ahead and get started, and I would like to start us off with picking up with the Hebrews 4:16 that we left off with the last session, and I'll go ahead and read it out of the Amplified Version. And it says, "Let us then fearlessly and confidently and boldly draw near to the throne of grace, the throne of God's unmerited favor to us sinners, that we may receive mercy for our time of failures and find grace to help in every good time for every need, appropriate help and well-timed help, coming just when we need it." So did you notice it says, "Let us then fearlessly and confidently and boldly draw near to the throne of grace"? And I'd like us to think about the throne of grace. It's kind of an obscure picture, but just go with me here. When I think of the throne of grace, I imagine Christ in all his glory and all his majesty and all his power sitting on this amazing throne, just bejeweled with jewels and colors and things that we can't even imagine, just a glorious sight. And Christ sits there ready and willing and able for us to boldly come to him with anything, with everything, with our praises, with our prayers, with our whole heart. We are to come to him boldly and confidently and fearlessly. So with that in mind, I thought we should go ahead and define the word bold. So I went ahead and looked it up. And boldness in the dictionary means willingness to risk shame or rejection in a social situation, willingness to get things done despite risk or sacrifice. It is also, boldness is clear and distinct. And I like to think about bold faith as an exclamation point kind of faith. And then, of course, boldness is fearless and daring. So we are called to come to this throne of grace, to come to Christ with this exclamation point kind of faith, and just approach him and then live out a bold faith. So I thought we could turn to Moses, who I believe is a great example of a man having a bold faith. And time again, he shows this in the Old Testament. So the first way that Moses shows us his bold faith is that he comes face down before the Lord. He literally comes head to ground, nose to dirt, face down before the Lord. And it's really interesting to see how he does this throughout the Old Testament. It's a common theme throughout the Old Testament. So I thought we would look at Numbers chapter 20, and I'm going to start with verse 2. And this is actually when the Israelites are in the desert. They've left and escaped Egypt, and they are on their way to the Promised Land. Now there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. They quarreled with Moses and said, "If only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the Lord's community into this desert, that we and our livestock should die here?" And then on to verse 6. Moses and Aaron went from the assembly to the entrance of the tent of meeting and fell down face down. And the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the staff, and you and your brother Aaron gather the assembly together. Speak to that rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water. You will bring water out of the rock for the community, so they and their livestock can drink." So think about this. Moses and Aaron, Moses in particular, just faithfully serves his people, the Israelites, faithfully serving the Lord. And they're just really getting a hard time with these Israelites complaining to them. And so all Moses knew to do was to go before the Lord in all humility and all humbleness, literally face down before the Lord and saying, "Lord, help us. We do not know what to do." And then you'll notice the Lord, what happens next? The Lord's glory comes upon them, and God gives them this ultimate answer, his ultimate provision. And I just kind of chuckle a little bit. Can you imagine what Moses was thinking? Here he is with his staff standing before this bone dry rock, and he's supposed to speak to it, and water is supposed to come pouring out. And can you imagine the bold kind of faith it takes to believe that that will actually happen? And then the bold faith to go ahead and present that option to the Israelites as his solution for their problem. So I just really think that this is a great example of coming face down before the Lord, taking a humble posture and literally showing yourself to the Lord as humble and ready and willing to have him show us his glory. And you might recall a old hymn, and it's a Bible verse that says, "Humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up." And really, coming humbly before the Lord, whether it's kneeling or literally face down, that is not a derogatory kind of pose. In fact, because God gives us his glory, shows his power, he lifts us up in all dignity. There is no shame in coming humbly before the Lord, because we're coming humbly before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and then he lifts us up. Now, I realize that this concept is a bold concept when we're talking about coming face down before the Lord, especially in the society that we live in today. I mean, basically, we do not humble ourselves before anybody as a society. It's all about self-promotion, self-absorption, self-dependence, and this is just an odd concept. So as Christians, taking this humble stance before the Lord really shows a bold faith, and it really can be a way to witness God's glory and God's provision and God's power to non-believers when we take this humble stance. So in closing, I just wanted us to know exactly why we need to take this literal humble stance before the Lord, whether it's kneeling or whether it's becoming face down before the Lord. And the first reason is that it sets our mind and our heart in the right place. It literally sets our priorities as we come to worship or come to pray or come to just talk with the Lord. When we take this posture, we are physically getting ourselves ready to be available and to experience God's glory and God's power. And then finally, when we literally take this stance and this face down posture, it is showing the Lord that we are saying, God, I recognize you as King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and I am humbling myself before you. I am opening myself up to you for you to show me your power, your glory, and I am ready and willing to be lifted up in your power so that your will be done and so that you can be praised and glorified. And I just know that when we take this stance of humility and stance of humbleness, God just can really shine through us and do a great thing. So I pray that you do in fact take this face down posture before the Lord sometime in the near future and just see how the Lord speaks to you through that. All right, time to close up. My stopwatch tells me I'm about done. So have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thanks so much.